Hi everybody, today PhoneArena is presenting you a video comparison of the iPhone 4 and the Nokia N8. The two manufacturers swapped their roles in 2007 before the iPhone was introduced. Nokia was reaping more than half of the profits in the cell phone industry, whereas just 3 years later Apple is at that position. It earns almost half of all the industry's profits, and Nokia N8 is an answer to that. But it's like the swan song of the previous management, because there was a lot of shakes up at Nokia recently. Both devices are beautiful pieces of industrial design, probably one of the best there is currently on the market. It's the steel and glass of the iPhone 4 against the anodized aluminum of the Nokia N8. Precision crafting exudes from both handsets. The screens are the same size, 3.5 inch. Apple's is the famous Retina display, of course, 640 by 960 astonishing pixels of resolution, whereas Nokia N8 has a regular AMOLED screen with 360 by 640 pixels of resolution, which is enough, but of course the one on the iPhone 4 is much more impressive. The IPS LCD on the iPhone has other virtues. For example, it's very bright, and the viewing angles have significantly improved considering it's an LCD screen. It doesn't lose as much brightness and color as other LCD screens. The regular AMOLED on the Nokia N8, of course, doesn't lose anything, almost anything, from different viewing angles due to the technology used, but it suffers under direct sunlight because it has high reflectance. But the colors are vivid and saturated, as we would expect from an AMOLED technology. Both devices have just one home screen button under the displays. The one in the Nokia N8 is a bit tricky to use. It's very small, and if you're holding the phone with one hand, there's the possibility to drop it, so I have to be careful, hold it with 2 hands when pressing the home button, whereas the one on the iPhone 4 is very well placed and very easy to use. The Nokia N8 feels very comfortable in the hand. The dimensions and the weight of both handsets are very similar, but this one is thicker, so it's more comfortable to hold and lays nicely in the hand. Whereas the iPhone 4 is extremely thin, as you can see. It's the thinnest smartphone out there. It's still comfortable to hold, but a bit edgy and slippery because of the glass surface, so it takes some getting used to in that respect. The iPhone 4 is made of steel and glass. Both the front and the back are made of Gorilla Glass, very smooth, and with a stainless steel rim around it. It looks like a concept phone made in one of the boutique designer shops. Very pretty. Whereas Nokia N8, as we said, has an industrial design made of a single sheet of aluminum. Also exudes premium feel with the etched logo here and the edges of the elevated area around the camera. The Nokia N8 has much more going around it than the iPhone 4, which is a tribute to the different design decisions and the additional functionalities it brings with it. The iPhone 4 is very simple, very streamlined. Just volume knobs here, standard audio jack, and the micro SIM card slot here, flush with the surface of the stainless steel rim. Whereas the Nokia N8, if you look around it, there are 10 openings and buttons with different functions. Let's start here. It has a dedicated camera shutter button, which is very easy to press, very distinguishable half press and full press. It couldn't be otherwise, since Nokia is touting as the best camera phone ever. Then we have the slider here, nice spring loading mechanism, again volume rocker, made of aluminum, power button, then the HDMI-out port to stream your movies to a big screen TV in Dolby Surround sound, something that the iPhone doesn't have. Then the standard audio jack. There's unprotected micro USB port, whereas the iPhone 4 has its proprietary dock connector, the charging port, and both handsets have removable, non-removable batteries, but the SIM card here on the side is easily accessible. You just pry open the plastic cover, and also next to it is the micro SD card slot, which adds additional storage to the 16 gigabytes that Nokia N8 ships with, up to 32 gigabytes of micro SD card, something that the iPhone 4 is lacking as well. A way to add additional storage. On the back of the devices are the respective cameras. The iPhone 4's 5 megapixel with LED flash. It's a very small round opening here. And the only other thing on the back is the logo here. The Nokia N8 has much more going on the back, mainly due to this elevated area, which is housing the biggest camera sensor in a smartphone, the Xenon flash, and the loudspeaker. Here we go, folks, the comparison of the two interfaces. They could be more different. The one on the iPhone 4 is application-centric. It consists just with screens full of colorful icons that are shortcuts to separate applications. Even basic tasks like the phone dialer, for example, has a separate icon that leads to a sandboxed application doing that separate task. Whereas on the Nokia N8 with the new Symbian 3 user interface, home screen plus widgets is introduced. There are 3 home screens in total. You can populate them with up to 6 widgets each, and thus you can have a look at what's happening in the phone and the different services you've connected to it right from the home screen: RSS feeds, favorite contacts, social networking updates, etc., etc. In that regard, it's more functional than the screens of the Apple iPhone 4. But that's where the advantages in the user interface end over iOS 4. The iOS 4 interface, as found on the iPhone 4, has the upper hand in terms of smoothness. It's very fluid and very easy to use, whereas on the Nokia N8 things are a bit more cumbersome. Let's say we have to swipe from one end to the other to change the home screen. It doesn't track together with your finger. On the other hand, iOS 4 doesn't support smart dialing, whereas Nokia N8 has it, as most other handsets. And the iPhone 4 also doesn't support social networking integration within your contacts list, whereas see social networks, you press on the respective name and you go into their Facebook profile, etc. It's not as smooth as the way it's implemented in, let's say, some Android overlays like HTC Sense or TouchWiz 3.0, but still it's there. One of the first things you fire up on your smartphone to use is probably the browser. The one on the Apple iPhone 4, the latest version of Safari, is a pleasure to use, although it doesn't support Flash. It's minimalistic, and let's see how many steps it takes us to enter a website. That's one step, and two, to type the address, and then 3, and we're in the website. The incredible resolution of this display makes text very crisp, very easy to read. Kinetic scrolling works well. You can adjust inertia. It does support text reflow. The the whole page did fit into the screen. And pinch to zoom, double tap. These are things pioneered by Apple, so in the Apple iPhone 4 they're executed very well, as you can see. Whereas if we go to the browser of the Nokia N8, that's the Achilles heel probably. It takes 1, 2 steps. See how cumbersome this portrait keyboard is, and there's no way to change it for now. It's triple tap T9. Of course, you can use the landscape keyboard, but still the keyboard and the text box cover the whole screen. And whereas here you can see which field you are going to type into. We would like to see this QWERTY keyboard or the portrait keyboard as an overlay of the user interface in the Nokia N8, not a separate screen that takes up the whole space. Okay, 5, 6 steps just to visit a website, whereas on the iPhone 4 and on Android phones we need just 3. Nokia needs to work on that, maybe with a new browser. They will issue a firmware update which is supposed to bring a new WebKit browser, but out of the box it's very basic. As you can see, doesn't support text reflow. The page didn't fit on the screen. We have to pan left and right to reach the edges of the page. Also, scrolling is a bit choppy if you have flash on the page, although the browser of the Nokia N8 supports Flashlight 4.0. It doesn't show these ads here. The browser of the iPhone 4 does, and it introduces pinch to zoom, which is fairly smooth, but again, if the page is heavy and there's flash on it, it doesn't work properly. Double tap to zoom works. Not as smooth as on the iPhone. Overall, the browser and the keyboard experience are really holding back the Nokia N8 in terms of usability. As far as GPS navigation goes, iPhone 4 comes with Google Maps, which is a great piece of software, and it's free. It offers turn-by-turn directions, but unfortunately in a very limited number of countries, whereas Nokia N8 comes bundled with Ovi Maps, which is also free, but it's used in much more countries around the world and offers free offline navigation with turn-by-turn directions. There are overlays from Lonely Planet and TripAdvisor. So basically, it's the type of application that you'll pay a lot of money for in the Apple App Store, whereas it comes pre-installed on the Nokia N8. Both handsets are showing their multimedia content in a gallery. Here's the one on the iPhone 4, very smooth, with easily discernible borders around photos or videos. Whereas the one on the Nokia N8 is a bit more plain, just thumbnails of the photos and videos you've taken, but still what it offers right out of the box is pictures and video editing with functionalities that you probably again have to pay for separate application at the App Store. Okay, we have rotate, resize, crop, clip art. These are basics, but we also have animations, frame, bubble text, drawing, and the similar situation is with video editing. A lot of functionalities, whereas for iMovie you have to pay $4.99 of App Store. Now Nokia N8 prides itself in the great photos it takes with the 12 megapixel camera with a Xenon flash. Let's start the camera interface. As you can see, the one on the iPhone 4 is very simple. Just a few settings for the flash, for front camera, to switch from photo to video mode and take the picture. You tap the focus and then you take the picture, and that's all. Whereas things on the Nokia N8 are much more complicated. As you can see, we have the switch to camera mode and back to photo mode, flash, settings. When you press settings, there are numerous icons for the various scenes and effects that the Nokia N8 shooter is capable of, but the icons are pretty small. And again, you have to double tap to choose something. They're easily accidentally pressed, especially the zoom slider here. And overall, it's a more cumbersome interface, although it's much more functional than the one on the iPhone 4. In the end, we would say that if you're a camera enthusiast or Nokia fan, then you appreciate the additional hardware functionalities that the Nokia N8 offers, such as a 12 megapixel camera with Xenon flash and the HDMI-out port, which streams movies from your phone direct to a flat screen TV with Dolby Surround sound. It also has USB on the go, FM transmitter, excellent free navigational software in the face of Hobby Maps. Then you probably choose the Nokia N8, but if you prefer simplicity, ease of use, and the great possibilities offered to you by the 250,000 plus applications in the App Store, coupled to a great hardware, then you go for the iPhone 4. This was a video comparison of the Nokia N8 and the Apple iPhone 4 from PhoneArena.